tonight's agenda is I'll do a quick introduction on the Fab Lab, then I'll hand over to Ben, who's going to talk about smart technologies that you can use in the classroom. And then he's also going to talk about our online courses that we're just launching, and some of these cover like some of the other EdTech areas like virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, voice control and artificial intelligence. And then we will try and leave a bit of discussion time so that if you've got any questions, then you can say them then, or you can post them in the chat and we might try and cover those as we go along. Fantastic. Okay, so my name's Anne Scrimshaw and I'm the Fab Lab manager. For those who don't know what a Fab Lab is a makerspace where people can come and make almost anything. So we've got 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines. This is some of the things that some of the students have printed, and you can see we have some things that people have cut out. We not only cater for students, but artists, businesses, entrepreneurs, and the aim is to help people understand how to make things. We also do projects with the students. So one of the projects was to make a hovercraft. I used to race hovercraft nationally and internationally, as one does. So I know a little bit about that. And the aim, like I say, is to try and to apply theoretical knowledge in a practical way, but we also like to have fun. So this is one of the first projects we did with some community artists, and the Fab Lab's role was to make the bees buzz when you touch them. So it's using capacitive touch. So then we can talk about like how phones work and things like that. Essentially all we did was stuff them full of tin foil and connect them to a circuit board. But, you know, we won't tell people, well, actually we do tell people how easy it is. But, you know, we like to do fun things first. Okay, so then we've been running that for about 5 or 6 years now. And then last summer, we put some funding in to expand out into the EdTech market. So artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, voice control, virtual reality and augmented reality. And with that funding, we managed to employ Ben. So I shall now hand you over to Ben.
Hi everyone, so for those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Ben Haddock and I have the very interesting job title of Emerging Technologies Demonstrator here at the Fab Lab and here at Sandwell College. This afternoon I'm going to talk to you about smart tech, smart apps, smart devices, smart technology, sometimes also known as the Internet of Things. And we're going to take a look at how we can use these technologies within education, within your classroom, and how they are sort of slowly but surely transforming the world around us, the way we live, the way we work, and how they're predicted to kind of sort of change things moving forwards in the future as well. So we've got a real jam-packed session today full of lots of different apps, devices, utilities you can use. I'm convinced there will be something here for everyone. So without further ado, I shall begin. So what is smart technology? Well, chances are you'll have used smart technology in probably 5 to 10 different formats without almost even recognizing it. If you have a voice assistant in your house, or you use a voice assistant on your phone, that's a form of smart technology. Smart light bulbs, which you can control from your phone, for example. Smart plugs that monitor your energy usage, or allow you to turn them on and off from a computer or a phone. Things like smart hoovers, smart robots also fall under smart tech, or even things like smart doorbells, which have become increasingly popular over the last few years. So the idea of it is really, when it kind of sort of comes down to it, that we have a device and it's connected to the internet and it allows us to kind of control that device through the internet. So usually in the form of an app or on a website, but the reason why we call it smart is because it's got an internet connection. It gives it some form of intelligence, shall we say. It allows us to kind of sort of control it, or it allows the device to do more than what devices have kind of done in the past. So being able to kind of connect to the internet, it might be able to kind of know the time, it might be able to connect to sensors somewhere else in the world, and therefore kind of do things. But it's not just what smart tech stands to kind of sort of achieve. What we're really talking about today is something called the Internet of Things. And the idea of the Internet of Things is that we have lots of different devices connected up via the internet with an internet connection. So that could be, like we said, a light bulb which connects up via the internet, so you can turn it on or turn it off from wherever you are. Smart heating. We're even starting to see things like smart cameras to kind of go in your fridge, so you can see what's inside your fridge whilst you're at the supermarket. It can even scan objects in, so it'll tell you when they're about to expire. Smart speakers are obviously quite popular. Big one that's been popular over the last few years is smart watches. And probably one predicted to be quite a big thing in the next few years is smart glasses. More on that story in a couple of months' time. You might want to bookmark the 20th of July. We'll be talking a little bit more about smart glasses and how they stand to transform the educational sector, and also how we carry out assessment methodologies. So the idea of the Internet of Things is that we have smart devices and they're connected to the internet. So the two terms are used interchangeably. Within the Fab Lab, we tend to use the term Internet of Things more, as that's kind of what we've received funding to kind of sort of teach people about. But if you hear the word smart device or Internet of Things, same idea. They're just devices that have an internet connection, and they could be something very simple. So like a light bulb, like a plug, like a camera, like air conditioning. It could be practically anything nowadays that has an internet connection. So how can we use smart technology or Internet of Things technology as a teacher? I mean, I've just spoken about a load of different things that we can use kind of within our homes. We can turn on lights, we can turn off plugs, we can, control the heating. But how is this relevant for us as educators moving forwards? Well, the chances are you may not have noticed it as a topic. It certainly may not have been something that you talk about or you teach in your lessons. But what I would say is it is something that is being used within your schools and within your colleges, probably without you even kind of really noticing it being there. So every time you have a smart door lock on the door, which you have to activate with a swipe card, every time that a student kind of signs in or signs out through a smart register system, maybe through an ID card as well. Lighting is smart in the sense that it will automatically turn off to save energy if you're not in the room. It can sometimes even be controlled from kind of somewhere else in the building. A lot of more modern buildings have things like temperature sensors or even noise monitoring or CCTV built in. These all have an internet connection, and they are all some form or another of smart tech. Even printers, if you're printing something wirelessly, that is a form of smart technology as well. So an enormous amount of smart technology is already supporting what we're doing as teaching staff already. But what I want to focus on more today is how we can use smart tech and the Internet of Things for more kind of tangible things within the classroom. So how can we use it to improve lesson delivery? How can we use it to streamline things for you as a teacher, to help you reclaim your weekend, reclaim all of those extra hours that you might put in kind of after your school or college closes? How can we streamline admin processes for you? But also how we can maybe sort of teach you to make your own smart pieces of technology that you can use in your classroom as an interesting prop, as an interesting device, or maybe even to kind of teach your students how they can make their own smart devices as well. So the first one that I want to run through with you is how we can use smart tech to improve lesson delivery. So this probably pushes the idea of the Internet of Things to the extreme in a certain sense, where we're looking at things like, say, mobile phones as Internet of Things devices or as smart devices, which we're using to communicate with each other. But nevertheless, some really interesting and exciting uses. So one really exciting use of smart tech that we can use as teachers is the idea of using your students' mobile phones as quiz handsets. So this may be something that you're already familiar with. You may have used kind of similar apps or features with other websites. One that we've been using quite a lot within the Fab Lab is one called Slido. And think of it a bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? So you've got your audience in the background and you're asking them to kind of sort of answer questions for you. Every single phone that your student has is a handset, and on their phone, they are given questions, which can be time limited. They have to kind of select a response or an option. And you as a teacher can then see how your class have responded and how they're doing as a result. On your whiteboard, on your projector, you can have sort of a big screen which shows the live results and gives an overview of how everybody else is responding. But something as simple as a mobile phone can be used as a piece of smart tech or as an Internet of Things or IoT device to help interact and improve lesson delivery. So there's a real wide variety of things that you can do with this. So it's not just asking a quiz or testing knowledge. You can use it to gauge student confidence, for example. How confident do they feel about past papers? How confident do they feel about a test coming up? And you can ask a student to kind of rate it from 1 to 10. And then you can very quickly gauge how your entire classroom feels about something, instead of maybe kind of hearing back from the same, 5 or 10 people that might typically respond inside a classroom. It's a great way to engage the whole of your class, a great way to kind of get responses from people who may be a little bit more introverted, may not be so willing to kind of sort of respond to you. And you can also use it as a space for your students to kind of discreetly ask you questions as well. So inside Slido, students can ask you questions, and they can either pop up as private questions or live questions. But if you're running a wider session, if you're running a larger session inside, say, a lecture theatre with a larger group of students, say maybe more than 20 or 30, this could be a really easy way for people to ask questions without kind of necessarily disrupting what's kind of going on at the same time. So the idea of using your phones as kind of live polling, live quizzing devices is one really interesting and exciting use of smart tech and the Internet of Things. The other great thing about this app is that it's completely free to use for up to 100 users. If you want to start using some more of their advanced features, you can get a paid account, but it's only as little as £5 a month. And the website is sli.do if you pop it into your web browser. I also wanted to show you what it looks like from your computer screen. So if you're running it in a classroom, I've just shown you some pictures of what it would look like on your students' devices. But this is what it would look like on your screen that you can show on your whiteboard or on your projector. So students join via a QR code, which they can scan on their phones on the right-hand side, or they can go to slido.com and enter this 6-digit number, which allows them to join the session. So it's really quick and easy to set up. No other tech is required. You know who will be added. You know who's already joined. As soon as somebody joins, you can see their name on the board, and those get added to as you go through. And then, just like a game show, you can run through quiz questions. You can give students a time limit to respond. And once that time's run out, you can see exactly how students have responded, and you can highlight the correct answer to them as well. It will also give you a leaderboard as well, so you can run through who's leading in the class, and adds a bit of gamification to lessons as well. As we know, gamification is quite a good way to engage students, and quite a hot topic at the moment as well. And this will not only rank people based on how well they respond, but how quickly they respond as well. The other nice thing about Slido as well is that it's not just for finding out whether students get the right answers or not. You can also use it to kind of gauge feedback, but get feedback from the whole class in an easier way, where you may struggle to kind of get feedback from certain students. So you can use it to gauge what areas of support students might need. They can very discreetly kind of pop it into their phone, almost like a live survey. And the advantage is that, they don't necessarily have to kind of put their hand up or kind of share those views if you've got some students who are a little bit shy, don't want to kind of share those things.
Ben, we just had a couple of questions about, does this work on iPads?
Yes, it does work on iPads.
And does it save all of the work?
It does save all of the work. So when you log into your account, you can get details of all of the responses and how people have exactly responded. The beauty of this as well is that it's no app. You don't need to download an app for this. It literally all works through your web browser. So what you can see here is on your web browser as a teacher, as an educator. But for students, it's literally scanning the QR code and it takes them to a web page. So that's one potentially exciting use of the Internet of Things or smart tech for improving interactivity, engaging,
just listening,
improving lesson delivery. Another really exciting use of the Internet of Things and smart tech is creating interactive documents that students can kind of interact with. So some of you may already be familiar with the idea of shared documents. So for example, having a Word document that you share with other people, and then multiple people can go into that Word document at the same time, fill things out, and you can almost have a live document where maybe 4 or 5 people are working inside that document at the same time. Over the last few years, that has become more popular. We can also use this on things like Excel and PowerPoint as well. So for example, inside PowerPoint, you could quite easily create an activity where on a slide, you have an activity that students can fill out. You can share it with them in the top right-hand corner here. And to do this, you click on the share button. And then you can copy a link, which you can send out to students. And then just send that out via an email. Or if you want to share it with specific students, you can type in the box here and enter specific names. You can also specify the privacy of that as well. So whether it's just say people inside your college or anyone with that link. And you'll also want to make sure that you tick this box here to allow editing as well. This allows people to move things around in the document and allows them to kind of edit things and interact things as well. The nice thing about this as well is that you can add comments as well. So if other people are in the document, you can mention people using the @ symbol, or you can comment on things and speak with other people. But the real beauty of it is what I'll show you in a second. Now, in this case, this is another user that's in the same document at the same time and is moving things around for me. So potentially you can use this, you can use the idea of shared documents or a smart shared document to create almost like a digital worksheet for students that allows them to kind of sort of do activities inside a PowerPoint presentation or inside a Word document. It's very simple to do. All you're doing is creating something inside a PowerPoint presentation you've already produced. But you're just adding a layer of interactivity to it or a layer of gamification to it as well. So this is another way that the Internet of Things has kind of sort of changed things and improved things over the last few years. So PowerPoint is one way that you could create a collaborative document, but there's also another website called Miro, which is really good for this as well, for creating collaborative shared documents. And the difference with Miro is that in essence, it's a very large whiteboard that you can use, and it's an enormous workspace. It's almost like rolling out a really big piece of paper in your classroom, giving 20 students a pen and allowing them to all kind of draw and annotate on this document at the same time. So this is really great for things like live worksheets, interactive activities. You could even do games in there as students can move blocks around, move images around, or they can type in there as well. But for an educator, it gives you a fantastic overview of everything that your students are doing inside one space and inside one screen. And the other fantastic thing about Miro is that it's completely free for students and teachers, and you can have up to 100 participants per board. So I've given you an overview of this, but what is it that you can actually do with this? Well, to give you an example, you could have a class project board, and on here you could have lots of different information about what you're doing in your class this semester or this term. And you could have lots of different activities that students have to kind of sort of fill out. And as you can see here, all of these different colors show different cursors that students can, which shows where your students are on the document and exactly what they're doing as well. Here you can see an activity where you can set a timer for students, and then you can ask them to drag and drop things into certain areas and complete an activity together. It's also great for planning between teachers as well, as you can have a big whiteboard with lots of resources, lots of information, and you can add comments and information onto this as well. Here's another example where it's being used as a reading club. But again, for example, if you were an English teacher, for example, you could use this to add an extra layer of interactivity to your lessons. So you set students a reading assignment, you set them a book to read, and then they can drag and drop the book that they think is their favorite or the one that they've been reading. They can add little sticky notes based on their comments, and they can rank them, they can add information. And all of this really is just dragging and dropping pictures, bits of text, comments, but you can do it all inside one document. So another really nice example of how we can use smart technologies. Here's another idea where the idea is that you kind of set an obstacle race for students inside Miro. But again, you could do something similar in PowerPoint. And the idea is that you give students, each line is for a specific student. So you could add their names under each line. And then every single block here is an activity that they have to kind of work through. So it could be a very small thing, it could be a very quick thing, it could be a series of questions that they have to answer. And then as a teacher, you can look at it from a wider view. You can see who is progressing the quickest, but it also adds a layer of gamification to things as well, as you can see, as it encourages students to obviously kind of complete things the quickest, complete things inside different activities, and could potentially be quite a fun activity to carry out. Here's a more creative example where you can draw your own character. With Miro, you can use it on the web, but you can also use it on your phone or on a tablet. So you can potentially draw things as well. And the idea of each of these individual boxes is that each box is designed for a specific student, so they can do all of their own work inside each individual box. But again, inside kind of one whiteboard. Another example that I thought was quite good as well, the idea of a shared document, asking students how they feel today. And then each person drags a counter and drops it on where they feel at the moment. And it gives you a wonderful overview of how your class is feeling, what they're thinking about, or what they're working on at the moment. So that's how you can use the Internet of Things or smart tech to work on improving lesson delivery. But another really fantastic way of using smart tech or the Internet of Things is to help you streamline processes as well. The beauty of the Internet of Things is that it allows you to connect different devices together and get them to talk to each other. So for example, I could take something like my calendar or my emails and link them together so that they talk to each other and complete a task for me, instead of me maybe having to say, do something in one program and then transfer it over to another program. I can use programs that sort of talk to each other, link up together, and do things for me. So one really nice example of this is a website called Calendly, which allows you to create your own appointment booking portal. So here is an example of the one that I use for meetings with staff and students. And it's a really quick and easy way to sort out appointments with people. If someone drops me, I'm sure we've all been in the situation where somebody drops you an email and says, I'd like to meet with you. I have this availability. And then you have to kind of trawl through your calendar, look at your availability. And then between the pair of you, you have to kind of sort of work out what dates might work. They might only mention a day. You might only mention a day. And then you've got to clarify it down, work out a time. And the amount of time you can spend trying to work out when you can actually physically meet with someone can be a really time-consuming process. Similarly, if you are trying to maybe arrange drop-ins for students, you might normally say block out a morning or an afternoon or a couple of hours for students to kind of drop in through a specific time, but you don't necessarily know if anybody's going to turn up at that time or who to expect or what to necessarily prepare for. But with something like Calendly, it allows you to basically book appointment slots in. I mean, similarly, again, you can use it for things like parents' evenings. So parents can book in slots with you for parents' evenings, and it's a really simple and quick and easy way to do it without having to kind of do all of that sort of back and forth. So between teachers, between students, even between parents, it can be a really fantastic tool. All you do is you give them out a link. If you want to sign up for this, it's just calendly.com. To make a basic account, it's completely free. There's no charge involved. There are additional paid features that you can sign up for, but these are only really if you want to start adding additional calendars or additional people or making things more complicated. But just for one person, for one calendar, it's a completely free service and one of the best that we've found that does this. So what is Calendly doing? Well, effectively what it's doing is it's looking at your calendar, it's looking at your emails, and it's also connecting up to things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams as well. So once I've selected a time that I find might be convenient for me, it then takes me to another page where I can just quickly pop in my name, my email. I can add any guests that I want as well. So if I want other people to be present at the meeting, I can pop their email addresses in. And then I've got a choice of location. So if I want a physical meeting, I can select the Fab Lab. But if I want to do a Zoom meeting, I can select Zoom. And then what it will do is my calendar, my emails, and Zoom will all talk to each other. And it will send me an email informing me that someone's booked in on my calendar. It will pop the event in my calendar. It will pop the event in the other person's calendar. And it will also set up a Zoom link for all of us as well. And all of this can be done in 30 seconds. It doesn't require anyone talking to anyone. It doesn't require transferring over any information or working across lots of different systems. It's nice and easy, and it's very quick. And I have to say that, you know, from the meetings that I've carried out online this year, particularly in the first 4 months of the first 3 to 4 months of this year, where a lot were Zoom meetings, being able to send someone out a link when they wanted to meet with me, and it would sort out all the rest of it for me, was a massive time saver. So have a think if you can use this yourself, maybe for students for drop-ins, maybe for if other teachers want to meet with you. There are a real wide variety of uses, and lots of other apps that you can kind of link in here as well. So you don't have to be a Zoom person if you're a Teams person. It will also work with Teams. It will also work with Google Meet. It will work with quite a few other features as well. So what I've kind of spoken about here is the idea of kind of connecting lots of different websites or apps together so that they can do lots of different things and they talk to each other, and you don't have to be the person that kind of connects all of those up together. Another really nice website that you can use for teaching and for helping to organize yourself, dealing with admin, is one called IFT. IFT stands for if this, then that. And this is kind of like this is an absolutely super website for linking up lots of different things. So I can link up my Spotify, I can link up my Domino's account, I can link up my Tesco account, I can link up my Pinterest, I can link up my emails, I can link up my Google spreadsheets. I've got all of these different websites and apps and services that I can connect together. And the beauty of this is that it's really open to your own imagination in terms of what you want to kind of achieve with this. But the idea is that we can kind of connect these things together, and when something happens, it will trigger something else. So the whole idea of IFT is if something happens. So for example, if the weather says that it's going to rain tomorrow, then it will send me a text message to say that it's going to rain tomorrow. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a trigger followed by an action. And the beauty of IFT is that it's really simple to use, really easy to use, really straightforward to set up. It's not confusing or complicated at all. You don't have to be techie, you don't have to be a software developer. It just allows you to connect all of these things together and really simply. So again, a completely free service to use for up to 3 what we call applets, so 3 recipes, shall we say. But if you want to start adding more, it's only as little as £2.50 a month. So what could I do with IFT? And I'm going to give you some examples so that you can see how quick and easy this is to do. So for example, I could set up a recipe where I said, if I arrive at work, then put my phone on silent. So what I'm doing here is I've got an app on my phone which will work out where I am, work out what my location is. And if it works out that I am at work, then it will then send a trigger to my phone to put it on silent so that if somebody tries to call me, I'm not being disturbed in the class, for example. So how do I exactly do this? Well, really simple to do. Go onto the IFT website, you create an account, and then you've got this top bit here where you add an if, and then you add a that afterwards. So the if is the trigger. If something happens, then something else will happen as a result. So here I've selected if. I can select location. And when I enter an area, so in this case, when I enter the Sandwell College area, I can select this. And I click create trigger. So I've made my trigger. If I'm entering the Sandwell College area, I can then choose my then that. So this is what happens as a result when I'm in the Sandwell College area. And here I'm searching for Android, for my Android phone, and I've selected mute ringtone. And that's the beauty of it. That's all I need to do to set up this as a result. What I will need to do is I will need to connect these services up as well. So I may need to sign into those accounts or sign into things in order to kind of get things working for the first time. But it's a very simple process to do. And as a result, I can save it and finish. And then all I need to do in this case is just download the IFT app to my phone. That will be tracking my location. And then whenever I'm in the Sandwell College area, it will mute my ringtone. I could then create another one where it says, when I leave the Sandwell College area, I want to unmute my phone. So that could be something that you could add to it as well. What else could we do? Well, let's say you're a sports teacher and you're heavily dependent on the British weather, which, as we know, can be incredibly unpredictable, especially in the case of May this year. So if it's going to rain tomorrow, you could set up a trigger to text you to bring an umbrella, or send a notification to your phone to bring an umbrella. And in this case, I'd be connecting up the weather feature in IFT, and then I'd be connecting up the notifications feature here. And that would allow me to create this little smart app that would advise me on what to do. This one's a great one. So I can also link up things like voice assistants as well. So if I connect up my Alexa or my Google Assistant and I say a trigger, so it could be something like add to spreadsheet, for example, that would be my trigger. So it knows that I'm doing what it knows, that I want to do this action. And then I could add a name and a number afterwards, and then it would record it on a spreadsheet for me. So for example, let's say I was marking students' work. I could say, hey, Google, add an A to my spreadsheet for Maria. And then on my spreadsheet, it would have one row which gives the grades and one row which gives the names of the students. So I could set up in a very quick and easy voice app with IFT that could create a voice activated spreadsheet for me to record all of my grades and scores. Something more simply, if it's Monday at 9 a.m, email me my to-do list for the week. So let's say I've got a to-do list on Google, or I've got a to-do list on, say, something like Asana, or somewhere else. It could just be a to-do list that I've got on my phone somewhere. I can make an automatic trigger so that at 9 a.m. every Monday, I've got an email with my to-do list to remind me to be up to date with what I need to do this week, and I know what's available. Another example, if I take a photo and I'm at work, so here it's the fact that I'm taking a photo and my location says that I'm at work, then I could get it to save it into a specific Dropbox folder for me, so I don't have to go through later and sort them out and pick them for a specific activity, or to put on the student newsletter, for example. So there's a real wide variety of different things that you can do with something like IFT. And really it's down to your own imagination, your own subject area, what you might do on a daily basis, what you could kind of achieve when you kind of sort of put two different services together. But last time I checked, there's over 200 different types of services you can connect with IFT. And if there's anything you're thinking, well, I'd like this to talk with this, then chances are you can use something like IFT in order to do that, to connect those things together. And then hopefully that then just becomes an automated process, so you don't have to do that again, and it can save you time moving forwards. So it's not just IFT that you can use. There are lots of other different services that work in the same way, using this idea of the Internet of Things, where things can talk to each other and connect up with each other. IFT is one of them. So again, there's a website for this, but there are also smartphone apps as well. There's another one which is very similar called Zapier, which is available on the web and has more kind of sort of business related links. So if you're looking to maybe kind of sort of streamline business processes, maybe connecting something like Excel and Word or PowerPoint together, Zapier is one to kind of have a look at. Another one to look out for is Microsoft Power Automate. And if you use Office 365 at your school or college, you may be able to kind of get access to this one to maybe link things together. So sometimes it can be included in your license. Sometimes it's an additional thing that IT have to add on for you. If that is the case, you'll obviously have to ask them nicely, maybe present a little bit of a case to them of what you want to use it for and why. And they might be able to kind of give you a bit of support around joining those things up together. This one can be a little bit more complicated to do, just because it can get a little bit more jargony in terms of what you're doing. But if there's a really specific thing that you think you could save a lot of time with inside Microsoft programs, then Microsoft Power Automate's a really good one for that. And they've just launched a desktop app as well, which allows you to kind of automate things that you do on your desktop. So let's say you're always clicking in one area on a program and then moving it over to something else, just something that you would do on your computer, but it's really long and time consuming and takes a long time to do. You can get Power Automate to track what you're doing and sort of do those clicks for you, do those kind of transfers for you, and save you some time there as well. If anyone's familiar with macros in Excel, it works in a similar way to that, I believe. And then there's other ones that you can just download for your phone as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, different apps or different services. It can just be kind of things that you normally do on your phone. So if you've got an Android phone, you can download one called Tasker. If you've got an Apple phone, there's one called Shortcuts. And again, the idea of these is that you can kind of link things up, connect things to different services, and kind of automate things for you. So I've got one on my phone at the moment, which allows me to basically, when I get below about 40% battery on my phone, it automatically activates low power mode for me. So it saves a bit of time. Well, it saves me power and means it doesn't run out in the middle of the day for me. There's also quite a few you can do sort of for location as well. So let's say you leave an area or you enter an area, you could get your phone to maybe send a text message to a loved one to say, I'm just about to leave home, I'm just about to leave the office, I'll be back in 15 minutes, or the other way around, for example. So the Shortcuts and Tasker can be really quite powerful, and you can do quite a lot of things with these, and they can be really clever. So not only is it that you maybe sort of leave work, but you can also connect it up to things like Google Maps as well, so that you leave work and then it sends a text message and then it pulls live traffic information from Google Maps on how long it will actually take for you to get home, and then sends a custom text message to your loved one that says, I will be 14 minutes according to current traffic. These are quite simple to set up. They're quite easy to do. It's a little bit out of scope of what we're going to talk about today, but if you're interested, have a look on YouTube. There's lots of really quick and simple tutorials about how to use Shortcuts, how to use Tasker, to kind of, take advantage of things like this as well. So the final way that we can use smart tech is maybe making our own smart tech. So we looked at the start as things like smart plugs, smart lights, smart equipment, but we can actually make our own smart tech, and it's not that hard to do. It's quite simple to develop. And as we're a Fab Lab, we're all about making things. We're all about building things. And if you're interested in, making your own smart devices that might be able to kind of fulfill a function or do something, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. We'd love to give you some advice on how you might be able to kind of create these things. I mean, for example, just to show you again, if you haven't seen so far, something like a little button which can or unmute you is quite a simple task to do. It's not that complicated, but if you're doing a lot of Zoom meetings, you might find it quite helpful. So what are the sort of things that we've been making in the Fab Lab recently in relation to the Internet of Things and smart tech? Well, we've got quite a lot of smart plugs and smart lights, as you would expect. So we can turn on lights with voice control commands. We've got smart plugs that we can kind of turn on or off. So, if we know that we're going to be expecting to kind of take equipment out, we can automatically voice trigger that or turn it on. Another advantage is as well that if we say charging things like laptops or iPads or maybe virtual reality equipment that we're going to take out to teachers, they'll all be connected up to a smart plug. And what that means is that we don't necessarily have to be in the Fab Lab to turn on that plug to activate them before we take them out to a class. So, you know, you might realize at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning that you've got to take this equipment out to somewhere, but you haven't charged it. Well, you can actually go on to one of the smart apps that we have, and we can automatically make sure that we've turned them on before we've left the house so that they're charging and ready for us to kind of take out to a lesson at 9 a.m, 10 a.m, for example, in the morning. We could do that through a voice assistant as well if we wanted. That's a really simple way that we can use sort of our own smart devices within a classroom related environment or within a Fab Lab. We have things like smart calendars that we use within the Fab Lab, and this is designed for bookings. So this here is one of our Ultimaker 3D printers that we use within the Fab Lab to help students design and sort of build things out of plastic. If you're not familiar with a 3D printer, the idea is that it's almost like a cake icing nozzle that prints out plastic, and it will slowly print things out for you and make you things out of plastic and a variety of other different materials. We also have laser cutters that cut things out of wood, and as Anne will tell you, what are the most popular machines in the Fab Lab, Anne?
Yeah, probably the laser cutters and yeah. And the 3D printers.
So one of the things that we've been working on is trying to find a way to kind of sort of book these out. As Anne will tell you, the laser cutters are like gold dust, and being able to kind of book us, particularly when we used to have our sort of public open days at the Fab Lab, which hopefully we're going to be able to start again soon. There was always a long queue for laser cutters. You know, some people would even try and arrive early so that they could book their slot on the laser cutter before everyone else. So one of the things that we've been developing in preparation for the return to normality, the return to being able to receive the public again, is these little smart calendars that we can pop on here, and then we can see who's booked it out at certain slots. We can use something like Calendly to allow people to book slots in advance for, you know, use of the 3D printers, use of the laser cutters. And then on the machine, this is a smart little device that's connected to the internet, and it will allow us to sort of, it will allow everyone to see who's booked it out and when, and, you know, hopefully instill a little bit of order to our Fab Lab lives so that no one kicks off. Other things that we've been looking at in the Fab Lab, smart plant watering and smart plant monitoring. Unfortunately, during lockdown, I think a few of our plants wilted a little bit. We do always tend to forget about our poor plants at times. But now we've invented a wonderful plant watering device that will automatically water our plants for us. Not only does it have a soil moisture sensor in it, which will tell us when the plants are getting a little bit dry, but it will automatically water them for us as well. It will tell us what the temperature is. It will tell us what the humidity is. It will give us all this information. We can turn on a water pump via an online dashboard from anywhere in the world. We can trigger the water pump via a voice assistant. It's really quite magical and wonderful to know that our plants are always going to be looked after now, and they're always going to be in good health and always going to be in good condition. So here's a little demo of how one works. This is one that I was trying out recently, and it's a voice-activated plant watering system.
Alexa, water the plants.
So quite a nice little project, quite a simple project. We've got quite a few of these Arduino smart devices in the Fab Lab. So anyone that's working within Sandwell College that likes to teach their students how to code, how to make things, how to make real world devices, we can show you how to make these. They're, you know, not that complicated to build. They're quite straightforward to put together. And furthermore, it teaches students how to code. It teaches students how to make things. And I just think they're, you know, absolutely cracking devices. These are the latest Arduino Whoppers, if you're interested. Another thing that I've been working on, and I really wanted to show you today, but unfortunately, as Anne will say, there's GMT time or BST time, and then there's Fab Lab time, and Fab Lab time seems to run at about 3 times the speed of normal time. Would you say, Anne? And time always runs away with us. But one thing I'm working on at the moment is basically a voice activated printer. And it's just a tiny little printer. I can show you a little prototype here. This is a little almost like receipt style printer. And the idea is that, put a little bit of tape out just so you can see. The idea is that people will be able to come into the Fab Lab and they'll be able to say something to our smart computer like, computer, tell me how the 3D printer works. Do you have any instructions? And then the 3D printer will go, yep, I'll just print out some instructions for you. Here you go. So another example of some smart tech that we can use. It's all connected up to the internet. To be honest, I'd quite like to use some big arcade buttons as well. Maybe we can have a massive button which says, smash this button if you want to know how to use the 3D printer, and out will print the instructions, for example. So when it comes to smart technology, the Internet of Things, smart tech, the sky is really the limit. Your imagination is really your limit when it comes to what you can do, what you can make, what you can build. And as a Fab Lab, where we are a space which is all about making, all about building, all about designing things, we'd love to be able to help you with that. We'd love to be able to kind of help your ideas come to reality. We've got a whole raft of different interesting smart devices, smart gadgets. These things aren't always necessarily super complicated, super difficult. Anyone can build these things. Anyone can make these things. Coding isn't as scary as you think it is. Sometimes it can literally be just dragging and dropping blocks on a screen together to kind of get things to work. But you really can make some amazing things as a result. We've got equipment that you can lend out to teachers. We can advise you on how to make little apps, how to make little devices, how to maybe kind of connect things up together to talk to one another, to make processes more easier for you, like we mentioned earlier on. Even if it's something as simple as a calendar booking system, we can help you with that as well. But if you've got any queries, if there's anything that we can kind of help you with specifically, by all means, do feel free to message us or drop us an email, and we're more than happy to help. Have we got any questions, Anne, before we move on?
There was just a couple of questions about the Oplas they're basically Arduinos, aren't they? So they use the same coding language as Arduinos. I say that. I hope I'm correct.
Yes. So Arduino is C++. That's the coding language that it uses. And we do use Raspberry Pi as well, where we generally tend to use Python. For those of you that don't know anything about code, it's just different languages. So a bit like how some people speak French and some people speak Spanish. Some devices speak Python, some speak C++. But they're both very simple. They're both very easy to use.
Yeah, and some of the boards that we've got, you can even do block programming, which I love, where you can just drag sort of snippets of code together, can't you, to actually be able to program it. So that's really good, especially if you've got a class of 8-year-olds or something like that. You can actually sort of get them doing something like this and making something that talks to something else, which is a fantastic opportunity these days.
Absolutely. I think the real wonders of coding nowadays is that you don't have to be a genius to do it. You can make your own things literally just by dragging and dropping things, and it's almost just like little digital Lego blocks that you stick together, or little jigsaw pieces that you stick together, and you can make some of the most marvelous things just by dragging and dropping things together and connecting them up. And we've got some really interesting little devices for if you're say more of a smart device or coding beginner. You can have a play with these devices and very quickly build something quite fantastic as a result. So yeah, if you like anything like problem solving, if you're into things like crosswords, you'll love coding, because it's the same idea of solving problems, designing things. It's great fun. I love it.
Brilliant. Does anyone else have any other questions? Anything else they'd like answering? Okay, I think we're okay at the moment. Ben, did you want to? That's it. The courses. You tell us about the courses.
This is a rather exciting announcement. So over the last few months, myself, Anne, and the marketing team at Sandwell College have been working on a series of brand new, exciting videos for teachers on emerging technologies. We've just launched 3 courses this week on an introduction to educational technologies for beginners, where I will walk you through virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, voice control, and I'll explain to you exactly what they are, what you can use them for, and how you can apply them for teaching, because that's the really important thing here. We've also got an entire video module series now dedicated to virtual reality, where I show you the different types of virtual reality that is available, how you can use it on a smartphone, how you can use it through dedicated virtual reality devices, how to use those devices, what they cost, how to set up your own virtual reality classroom, the sort of apps that you can use, how to use augmented reality with students in a classroom, what you can use it for, how to make your own holographic cubes that you can hold up in front of your students and they can see the most marvelous objects from anywhere in the world. All of these courses are free. They're available online now through the link below, which will take you to a YouTube channel. We also have a LinkedIn Learning site that's available to college staff as well, where we've published videos as well, which you can access through your LinkedIn Learning college account. We're also uploading all of our Tech Tuesdays videos here as well, to both LinkedIn Learning and to YouTube. So if you've missed any before, if you want to see some of our previous talks, you're more than welcome to kind of find those videos as well on the link below. So it's just bit.ly/FabLabSandwell, or if you go to YouTube, just pop in Fab Lab Sandwell and then just look for the little orange logo. But we've got 32 videos so far and counting. There's probably another 30 or so videos at the very least that are coming within the next few weeks and coming months. We'll be talking about all these technologies, how you can use them, how you can apply them in the classroom, get, to solve problems, make teaching more exciting, improve your delivery, and streamline back office processes, make things quicker and easier for you as well. So we've had an absolute ball filming them. They've been great fun. I never thought I would be doing certain things in front of the camera, but yeah, we're really excited to be kind of sharing them with you. And please watch them, share them, and send them on to anyone else that you think might find them useful as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yes, certainly will recommend going to see those. And our next session is obviously Tuesday, the 22nd of June. And we're going to be looking up at actually how to set up a virtual reality classroom, because there's a lot of people who are asking about this, aren't they, Ben?
Absolutely. I mean, out of the 5 topics that we've focused on this year so far, virtual reality has been the real big one, the real driving force, the real exciting one, the one that's really captured people's imaginations, and for good reason, because it is probably going to transform the way that we deliver teaching. Imagine, popping on a headset and being able to take students to somewhere where you wouldn't normally be able to take them. Imagine using it as a simulation tool to get people to kind of practice things before they go into the workplace, or showing them a video of somewhere which is completely immersive and it feels like they're in the ocean, on the top of a mountain, skydiving, carrying out workplace tasks. So I'll be sharing with you everything that we've learned so far on our journey with virtual reality, in terms of what sort of headsets to buy, what the costs might be, how you can implement them in the classroom, things to look out for when you might be kind of sort of dealing with things in terms of, number of people, risk assessments, all these sort of things. This is basically the ultimate playbook for how to use virtual reality in the classroom. We're not aware of anything similar like this so far. There's definitely some content already on our YouTube channel, but this will be the definitive guide so far on virtual reality for FE, how to use it, what you can get out of it, and how to make it work for you.
Brilliant, fantastic, Ben. And I think I would like to reiterate that virtual reality is really exciting for use in the classroom. I know even like the last week, Ben was with eSoul, and just using some really simple, cheap virtual reality headsets with phones. And, he took them on a trip to like London and the Louvre and was it? I'm trying to think where it was, Bodleian Library. And they managed to, the students then were able to answer questions about what they'd seen and what they'd heard. And it is so immersive. So, you know, even if you're not in really a techie subject, you might find ways of using virtual reality in your lessons. So well worth a watch. Anyway, was there some questions for anyone? Any questions? Anyone want to add anything? Because we are just about on time, actually, which is surprising.
Wow.
Fantastic. Okay, if no one wishes to add anything, me and Ben will hang around for another couple more minutes if anyone does want to say anything afterwards, ask us any questions. But I shall officially draw this meeting to the close. And but thank you everyone very much for attending.